I'm grateful because someone once made something special just for me and handed it to me, saying, "Here, I just want you to wear this." I didn't overthink it. I simply said okay. Moments like that remind me how kindness can arrive quietly, without expectations. For Wynonna Judd, life eventually became a mix of gratitude, pain, strength, and survival, all unfolding in front of the public eye. Her dream life showed her as a celebrated musician, traveling across the country and sharing stages with her daughter, but behind that image was a long story filled with heavy emotional burdens that had nothing to do with fame or success. For many years, Wynonna carried weight that had nothing to do with her appearance. She lived through experiences that could have broken anyone. There was a DUI arrest that happened just 1 week before her wedding, a husband who was sentenced to 10 years in prison, a daughter who moved in and out of courtrooms across 4 different states, and a mother who left her the day before what should have been their biggest shared honor. Faced with all of this, she could have chosen to disappear from public life completely. Instead, she made a different choice. She stripped everything away. She let go of the makeup, the filters, and the false layers people often hide behind. When she appeared on TikTok in 2025 showing her bare face, many fans called her brave. What they did not see was the long and painful road it took to reach that moment. The real story begins decades earlier, with a phone call in 2003 that nearly destroyed everything she had built. But even that moment was shaped by events that started long before she was born. Wynonna Judd entered the world on May 30, 1964, in Ashland, Kentucky. At birth, she was named Christina Claire Simonella. Her life began with a complicated story that already carried shame, secrecy, and fear. Her mother, Wynonna Judd, was only 17 years old when she became pregnant. She was young, scared, and abandoned by her high school boyfriend, Charles Jordan. When he disappeared during her pregnancy, it caused gossip and judgment to spread through their small town. Wynonna faced all of it alone. She missed her high school graduation by just 2 weeks because she was in a hospital bed holding her newborn daughter. By that time, the whispers from neighbors had already worked their way into every part of her life. Desperate to protect herself and her baby from judgment, Wynonna married Michael Simonella and allowed the world to believe he was the father. It was a lie created to cover her shame, but that lie became the foundation of Wynonna's childhood. For many years, Wynonna had no idea that the truth beneath her identity was fragile and waiting to collapse. Charles Jordan never returned to help Wynonna, not even once. Wynonna was pushed out of her home because of the pregnancy and had nowhere to go. With no support system, she leaned on Michael Simonella to provide some sense of stability for her and her child. While Wynonna struggled to survive, Charles Jordan went on with his own life. He built a music career, got married, and lived freely. To Wynonna, he remained nothing more than a ghost. She grew up believing Michael was her biological father. The truth finally came out when Wynonna was already 30 years old and pregnant with her son, Elijah. Learning the truth felt like a sudden blow. It meant her entire childhood had been shaped by a lie. The man she believed was her father was not biologically related to her at all, and her real father had chosen to stay far away. The feeling of being unwanted, something she had always felt but could never explain, suddenly made sense. Later, she shared that learning the truth changed the way she understood everything in her life, including how she loved the people around her. Her early years were marked by constant movement and secrecy. Wynonna wanted her daughter to feel like she had a normal family, so she never revealed the truth about Wynonna's biological father. Instead, Wynonna focused on survival. The family moved again and again, following Wynonna's nursing jobs. Sometimes they lived in California, sometimes back in Kentucky. Every move weakened their sense of home. Wynonna later said that their life was so simple and bare that if they did not grow something or make it themselves, they simply could not have it. Each new address, each new school, and each new town took away a little more of her childhood stability. Financial stress, hidden truths, and the constant search for safety shaped Wynonna in quiet but powerful ways. Music became her anchor because it was the one thing that stayed the same no matter where they went. By 1979, when Wynonna was only 15, she was already carrying emotional weight far heavier than most adults ever face. That year, she, her mother, and her younger half-sister Ashley packed what little they owned and moved to Franklin, Tennessee. They hoped it would be a fresh start and an escape from years of struggle. Naomi worked as a nurse and took on extra shifts just to pay the bills. The three of them lived modestly and depended almost entirely on Naomi's income while she and Wynonna quietly chased a dream that felt distant and uncertain. During this time, Naomi legally changed her name from Diana to Naomi, and Christina became Wynonna. Her new name came from the town of Wynonna, Arizona, which was mentioned in the song Route 66. Their lives were simple and stripped down. At night, Naomi and Wynonna performed in small venues around Nashville, hoping someone in the music industry would notice them. The climb was slow, but their hunger to succeed kept them going. Everything changed in 1984 when they released Mama He's Crazy as the second single from their debut EP. The song, written by Kenny Odell and shaped by producer Brent Marr, perfectly captured the bond between mother and daughter. When it hit the radio, listeners felt something special. On August 4, 1984, the song reached number 1 on the country charts and stayed there for 14 weeks. It marked the first time since 1953 that a female duo reached the top spot. Awards followed quickly. They won their first Grammy for Best Country Performance by a duo or group with vocal and collected multiple ACM awards. Wynonna was only 18 years old, trying to understand how her life had shifted from poverty to luxury hotels almost overnight. That song became more than just their first hit. It became proof that their long, difficult journey had led them into country music history. From 1983 to 1991, the Judds dominated country music. They released 7 studio albums and 26 singles, with 14 reaching number 1. Their debut album, Why Not Me, went gold in April 1985 and later became double platinum. By the early 1990s, their total album sales exceeded 11 million in the United States alone. No female duo before them had ever achieved that level of success. They earned more than 60 major awards, including 5 Grammys, 9 consecutive CMA Awards for Vocal Duo of the Year, and 8 Billboard Music Awards. Every single from Why Not Me, Rockin' with the Rhythm, and Heartland reached number 1. They didn't just succeed, they changed what was possible for female duos in country music. Behind the bright lights and sold-out arenas, something frightening was happening to Naomi. In January 1989, at the age of 43, she was diagnosed with chronic hepatitis C. She had been suffering from headaches, nausea, fever, and deep muscle pain for months. Doctors traced the illness back to a needle stick injury she had suffered years earlier while working as a nurse, before hospitals fully understood the risks. At the time, hepatitis C carried heavy stigma and very few treatment options. One doctor told her she had only 3 years to live. The diagnosis shook the entire family. Naomi's pain and exhaustion made performing impossible. She was forced to step away from the group at the height of their fame. The illness didn't just threaten her health. It shattered the identity she had fought to build from nothing. In 1990, tests at the Mayo Clinic revealed that the disease had been damaging her body silently for nearly 4 years. She was only 44, but her liver was already badly affected. Doctors told her the condition was chronic and irreversible. As the Judds were planning future tours and recordings, Naomi was facing a reality that required her to leave everything behind. She officially announced her retirement in October 1990. Their farewell tour, Love Can Build a Bridge, ran through 1991 and ended on December 4 in Tennessee. Each performance was emotional, filled with sadness and gratitude. Fans knew Naomi's prognosis, and Wynonna, only 26, was losing not just a musical partner but the center of her world. After the duo ended, Wynonna stepped into a new chapter alone. In 1992, she signed a solo record deal and faced enormous expectations. Her debut solo album was released in March 1992 and went straight to number 1 on the country charts. It produced multiple number 1 singles and sold millions of copies, proving she could stand on her own. She went on to release several successful albums throughout the 1990s, becoming the most successful solo female country artist of the decade. Despite her success, personal struggles continued. In November 2003, a night that began as harmless fun quickly spiraled out of control. Around 2:30 in the morning, Wynonna was pulled over near Nashville for speeding. The officer smelled alcohol, and the breathalyzer showed her blood alcohol level was more than twice the legal limit. She was arrested, posted bond, and walked away carrying deep shame. The arrest happened just 1 week before her wedding, making the situation even more painful. She later pleaded guilty, lost her driver's license for a year, and completed community service. She admitted the experience forced her to confront her choices and stop running from herself. Only weeks later, another shock arrived. Despite years of success and millions earned, she learned she was on the edge of bankruptcy, marking yet another moment where her life demanded reflection, change, and resilience. Her massive 525-acre farm in Tennessee, the place she loved more than anything else, suddenly became at risk of being taken away. For the first time, Wynonna openly admitted that she had been living a wild rock star lifestyle for many years. She spent money without limits, flew on private jets, paid for friends to travel with her, and burned through cash faster than it ever came in. She described herself honestly as a spender and a debtor, someone stuck in a cycle she could not seem to escape. From the outside, fans saw a powerful, successful woman who looked untouchable, so the truth shocked almost everyone. That moment forced her to face another kind of addiction, one that did not come in a bottle but was just as destructive. It was an addiction to excess, comfort, and avoidance. That wake-up call pushed her toward help before she lost everything she cared about. Her management handed her a card for an on-site rehabilitation center in Tennessee run by Ted Clontz, a place known for helping people with financial disorders and deep emotional wounds tied to money. In January 2004, Wynonna checked herself in. She was not there for alcohol or drugs. She went because of her unhealthy relationship with food and money. She described herself as a recovering entertainer, someone who grew up poor and never learned how to live with abundance in a healthy way. The program forced her to dig deep into her past. It brought up memories and emotional patterns she did not even realize she carried. Later, she spent 42 days at Shades of Hope in Texas, a treatment center focused on addictions related to food. She said those weeks broke her open and rebuilt her in ways she never thought were possible. For the first time, she felt like she had control over parts of her life that always felt like they were slipping through her fingers. Some of the deepest emotional shocks in Wynonna's life came from secrets that stayed hidden until she was an adult. In 1994, while she was pregnant with her son Elijah, she learned the truth about her biological father. For 30 years, she believed Michael Simonella was her real father. Naomi finally revealed that he was not. Her biological father was Charles Jordan, Naomi's former boyfriend from Ashland, Kentucky, who had abandoned her when she was 18 and pregnant. Wynonna spent years trying to track him down, hoping to understand the missing piece of herself. In 2000, she finally found him, only to learn he had died of a heart attack just weeks earlier. She found out 4 days after his death. The news left her empty in a way she could not fully explain. It left her with questions that would never be answered and the painful realization that much of her childhood was built on a story no one chose to tell her honestly. Her personal life continued to carry both joy and pain. Wynonna married Arch Kelly III on January 21, 1996, after dating since 1993. Their son Elijah had already been born in December 1994, and their daughter Grace Pauline Kelly was born in June 1996. Wynonna was 4 months pregnant at the time of the wedding. Kelly took on the role of a stay-at-home husband on her large Tennessee farm while Wynonna's career kept growing. The marriage lasted only 2 years and ended quietly in 1998. Later, Kelly's net worth reached around $2 million, but for Wynonna, money never mattered as much as the fact that those years gave her 2 children who would shape her life forever. Her second marriage followed a much darker path. Wynonna married Dr. David Roach on November 22, 2003, just days after her DUI arrest. He had worked as her bodyguard for years, and the relationship grew out of trust and familiarity. In 2007, Roach was arrested for child sexual assault and battery and later sentenced to 10 years in prison. Wynonna later said that both of them were struggling with addiction during that period, and the arrest shattered any hope they had of saving the marriage. She filed for divorce immediately, carrying yet another deep emotional scar forward. Life surprised her again years later in a very different way. In 2012, she married Cactus Moser, a drummer she first met in 1989 and reconnected with in 2009. They married on June 10, 2012, on her Tennessee farm in a quiet ceremony that felt peaceful and grounding. Cactus became the steady presence she had been missing, someone who brought calm instead of chaos. Just 2 months after their wedding, their lives changed forever. On August 18, 2012, Wynonna and Cactus were riding motorcycles through the Black Hills of South Dakota. The morning was clear and calm. Wynonna rode about 10 feet behind him. In a split second, Cactus crossed the center line and crashed head-on into an oncoming car. The impact was devastating. His left leg was severed instantly. When Wynonna realized what had happened, something inside her broke. She dropped her bike, ran to him, and lay flat on the ground so she could look directly into his eyes. She believed that if he closed them, he might never open them again. The driver of the car walked away unharmed. Cactus was airlifted to the hospital, where doctors amputated his leg above the knee and operated on his hand. Their honeymoon ended that day, replaced by a long and painful fight for recovery. The emotional weight grew heavier when Cactus was cited for crossing the center line and riding without a motorcycle license. Wynonna canceled her shows and stayed by his side through every painful moment. She helped clean wounds and care for him in ways she never imagined. Those moments changed their marriage. Love became something stronger and more real. They often said their bond became bulletproof, because if they could survive that, they could survive anything. Recovery was slow. Cactus went through multiple surgeries, long rehabilitation sessions, and the difficult adjustment to life with a prosthetic leg. Wynonna saw every part of it, from the painful first steps to the days when frustration nearly took over. Still, he fought his way back to the stage. He joined Wynonna on tour again, proving the accident did not steal his rhythm or his purpose. Both of them said the support of family, friends, and fans carried them through the darkest nights. Looking back, Wynonna often says the accident did not break them. It shaped them and taught them that love grows deeper when everything else is stripped away. While Wynonna was fighting her own battles, her daughter Grace Pauline Kelly's life was unraveling in public. Everything began to fall apart in December 2015, when Grace was only 19 years old. One night in a Nashville Walgreens parking lot, police noticed a plastic bag thrown from her car. Inside the bag, they found items commonly used to make methamphetamine. Security footage showed her buying those items inside the store. She was arrested along with a man who was with her. She was first charged with promoting meth manufacturing, a felony, but later pleaded guilty to a reduced misdemeanor charge for meth possession. That arrest marked the beginning of a long and painful legal journey. In November 2016, she violated probation by crossing state lines and was arrested again as a fugitive. By May 2017, she faced serious charges related to meth manufacture and distribution. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to nearly a year in jail, but after serving 1 month, she was released to complete her sentence in rehab. In February 2018, she left the treatment program without permission, violating her terms. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison. She remained incarcerated until being paroled in 2020. The cycle did not stop there. In 2024, Grace was arrested again in Alabama for indecent exposure and later pleaded guilty to lesser charges. She received a suspended sentence. Just months later, she was arrested in Georgia for fleeing police and driving with a suspended license. 2 months after that, she was arrested in Virginia for stealing a church van and faced multiple felony charges. Each arrest added another layer of pain, and the media documented every detail, every date, and every courtroom. While her daughter's struggles continued, tragedy struck the family again. On April 30, 2022, Wynonna Judd spent her final morning at her home. She was 76 years old and had battled depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and bipolar disorder for many years. She spoke openly about the physical and emotional side effects of her medication. That morning, she was found unresponsive. She died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A note was found nearby. Ashley Judd later shared that her mother's final words to her were, "Will you stay with me?" Those words haunted her. The timing made the loss even more heartbreaking. Wynonna was supposed to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame with Wynonna the next day. Instead of celebration, the world woke up to grief. The ceremony went on to honor Wynonna's legacy, but the room was filled with sorrow. Wynonna stepped on stage with visible pain and spoke through tears. The moment felt less like an awards ceremony and more like a public goodbye. Wynonna later admitted she felt anger, guilt, and deep sadness. Grief did not move in a straight line. It came in waves. Long before Wynonna's death, Wynonna had already begun changing her life. In 2010, she survived 2 near-death experiences. One was a major surgery that led to blood clots in her lungs. Later that year, she survived a serious car accident. Those moments forced her to slow down and rethink everything. She changed her mindset before changing her body. Over time, she lost 55 pounds, adopted healthier habits, and focused on mental healing. By 2025, she appeared on social media without makeup, smiling freely and confidently. Her transformation was not quick. It stretched across 15 years. She focused on therapy, meditation, daily walks, and nourishing food. She learned that her weight was tied to her emotions and that food had once been her comfort. Letting go of that relationship was one of the hardest things she ever did. As she aged, she stopped hiding her wrinkles and embraced them as proof of survival. Fans connected to her honesty. Her journey was never about looking younger. It was about finally living honestly, with all her scars visible, and stepping back into the light with a face that told her entire story.